John's in Maidenhead. Hi, John.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon.
Good
Is that
afternoon.
Mr. Sawbridge?
It is, sir, I'm afraid. Yes, hello.
Yeah. I have to own up to being an 81-year-old reactionary.
Uh-oh.
And my arguments, if you like, are conditioned by my age and my attitudes. But I totally disagree with the idea of having so-called drag queens going into particular junior schools or primary schools, yeah? And I'll tell you why. It seems to me that the only justification on their part for going into schools is propaganda. And schools at the moment are hard-pressed for time, with teachers going on strike at an alarming rate. They should, schools of all levels, primary, secondary, should concentrate on the business of education and should not allow or take up time to listen to the propaganda given out by drag queens, homosexuals, even heterosexuals, and drag queens.
What's the propaganda?
The propaganda is spreading a message that it's okay.
What's
basically,
okay?
to be a drag queen.
But it is okay to be a drag queen.
Well, it might be okay, but it's okay to be a criminal. But you don't have criminals going into schools.
It's not John, it's not okay to be a criminal.
No, it isn't.
No, but it is okay
I don't
to be.
believe it. It may be okay to be a drag queen, but not necessarily to publicise the fact.
Why not?
And in any case, a lot of children get to see drag queens when mum and dad take them to see a pantomime at Christmas time.
Do you object to the drag queen being on stage in the pantomime?
I'm sorry, I am a little deaf. I didn't get that question.
Do you object to the drag queen being on stage at the pantomime?
No, in no way.
But so you don't have a problem with drag queens, or you do?
I don't have a problem with drag queens, but I do have a problem with them going into junior schools. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do when they go into those schools, or indeed if they go into those schools. But I have to say, those schools can ill afford the time to give to these drag queens.
John, would you do me the favour of just hanging on the line for a second?
I'm sorry, could you ask that question again?
John, would you do me the favour of just hanging on the line for a second?
Of course.
Thank you very much indeed. Liam's a new caller in Whitechapel. Hi, Liam.
Hi, Tom.
What do you make of John's concern there?
I mean, I find it funny straight away to hear someone that's so concerned about the impacts that certain people are having on children's education, and yet these arguments come from people who are determined to have their say on children's education.
John?
Oh, hello. I'm sorry, what was the question again? I heard your gentleman, but I couldn't quite get the question.
Liam,
I was just saying, John, that you're concerned that you don't want drag queens to have any impact on children's education, but it's people like you and your politics that are determined to have your say on children's education.
Well, I don't believe to know about drag queens is part of education, for a start. Education is about fitting people to live a successful life, it seems to me. And to live a successful life, you need to master certain very complex knowledge.
Do you think, Liam, that a 6-year-old should know what a drag queen is?
Yes, absolutely. Why not? Let me put another question. Should a 6-year-old know what a gruffalo is? Because a gruffalo may come into a school, there may be a character dressed up as the gruffalo, a very successful children's character, may read a story to some children,
sure.
And these children may be exposed to some fun, some characters, and I don't see the difference. It certainly is not sexual.
Well, I don't think it's sexual, but in the description that ADHD gave us of what she does, part of what is happening here is talking about LGBTQ plus people and to an extent history and inclusivity through the existence of LGBTQ plus people. That's a complicated message for a 6-year-old.
It is, but it's being delivered in a way that just says families and relationships are complex and they're different.
I agree.
It's not...
So why is then the drag element necessary for the teaching of that very important message?
Because you know what, these characters are funny. They're different. They're dressed in a fun way. They still look funny. They might engage the kids.
So is the Gruffalo.
So let's have both. But
the Gruffalo is not with the complex nature of the LGBTQ plus element to it. The Gruffalo is just the Gruffalo. It's just a fun thing that kids like. The drag queen needs quite a lot of explanation and careful explanation to a 6, 7, or 8-year-old.
I don't believe that it does need careful explanation. I think a 6-year-old.
Do you have children, Liam?
I don't. No.
See, I just wonder. I asked the question because I wonder whether there is a bit of a difference here between those parents who perhaps look at their 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old and think, this is complicated, this is complex, and it's going to take more nuance and time than a drag queen coming in and telling them a nice story.
I understand that, but I think of myself when I was growing up, and I grew up a young gay man, but I think of myself at the age of 6 or 7, and I think I just took things as read. Someone came into school, and I would maybe go home and talk to my parents about it at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't overanalyzing things in my head. I don't think I was anyway. I don't remember thinking when we had police officers or fire officers come to school to talk about important issues like fire safety or fireworks.
Oh yeah, I remember all that. With the police officer came in, or the local vicar came in, or whatever. I just don't know that it attached to it is LGBTQ plus or any other type of understanding of the world that is quite grown up for a 6, 7-year-old, I think.